Welcome back, everyone. Craig here. Sorry, it's just me, and you have to look at my ugly head because I don't have the regular hat with me today. So today's what I wanted to talk about today and throw this out there is to see if there's any guys or ladies out there that would be interested in being part of the Uncharted Catholic Man Mastermind group. Um, this is sort of uh, I'm opening the invitation up to everyone, but not necessarily everyone is going to be a good fit for this group. But let me kind of explain the rationale behind it and what we're looking for, and maybe you can think and pray about whether this might be a good fit for you. So um, it seems like an eternity ago, but we're coming up close to a year now when Jonah and I started this journey together. And for me, I was not necessarily looking to start a podcast. What I was really looking for was a almost a forum or a safe and open atmosphere where I could share and discuss some of the struggles and concerns and observations I had as a Catholic man, as a husband and father with others, um, in a way that was helpful and open and but sensitive to people. And so I had originally started this thinking that if we started the podcast, there would be enough sort of quote unquote faithful followers that would have a similar idea, and the thought being that if we could get enough any kind of a critical mass of people together, we could then share ideas, share anecdotal stories from their own situations, and then use that as a conversation starter or sort of a topic for podcasts, so that it's not always me and Jonah sort of talking about our own situations, which we're more or less happy to do that, but it's difficult. I mean, these are our real lives. We have families, um, and it would be easier to talk about some of these things as with a certain level of anonymity. So even if we're in the mastermind group and there's a particular thing that Joan and I have to deal with that we want to talk about, we can say, we want to talk about something that came up in the mastermind group. Um, that group that never really materialized. Um, and it's just, I know we have people that listen. I know we have pretty ardent listeners, but most of the people that we've come across are not comfortable with like sharing anything with us, which is fine. Like no one's under an obligation to do so. But part of so let me back up just a little bit. So this earlier this year, I was part of a new forum that I was really excited about, and it was a Catholic NFP based forum founded by some Catholic women. I'll just leave it at that. And I thought like this kind of was maybe an opportunity to do what I had kind of wanted to do all along, and so I got part of that. And it didn't work out, and that forum no longer exists. Um, and there really isn't anything out there. And strangely enough, just this morning, I got contacted by someone. We both ended up in a, I don't know if it's not a Facebook group, but it's a sort of a forum that is under the umbrella of another marriage and intimacy podcast, Christian but not Catholic. And so they have their own sort of uh, group in there, forum in there, where people can talk about sensitive things, but none of it's from a real Catholic perspective. And so I haven't been very involved in that because so much of the struggles that we as Catholics have are not really relatable to non-Catholics. Some of it is, but the real stuff that we talk about here is a uniquely Catholic problem. And so I just never spent a lot of time in that group engaging. But I got a message from someone today who was a Catholic guy, and we started chatting, and I mentioned that we had the podcast, and introduced him to some of the episodes. And of course, this person was in this group under an alias, because everyone's afraid to talk about this stuff. I get it. I mean, uh, there's a reason why you don't see Jonah. But I think this stuff is too important, both from the standpoint of marriages are really, you know, the pendulum between a pretty good marriage and a great marriage, or not a very good marriage and a great marriage, it is a wide difference. But the pivot point is really communication, and communication about things that oftentimes the opposite spouse cannot understand or relate to. And how do we communicate things to our wives that they can't relate to, and vice versa? That's kind of the point of this show, hopefully, is to serve as the pivot point between husbands and wives on these matters that have very, very significant moral implications for us as Catholics. So anyway, so I started conversing with this person, invite him into the podcast, and I think they're looking at some of the episodes. And invited, hey, if you ever want to come on and record an episode, and this guy was like, no, which again I get, but and Joan and I have recently been recording some content that is not publicly available, in part because it is a little close to home and personal, but is definitely something that certain people would benefit from, but you just can't make it publicly available to everybody. It would be easier to share some of these things if Joan and I had a group around us, a mastermind, for lack of a better word, but it can call it whatever you want. But ideally, if I had to say, if we had another six, even three, four, five, six men, maybe some women, but especially men, maybe a priest or two, would be that we could have sort of a chat with, a very confidential. We would all have to be absolutely confidential, um, and to be able to share and in some ways discuss things that we see elsewhere. So I see a lot of stuff on Facebook and other forums about people struggling that I'm like, I can help you, or at least I've been there. But it's not just simple for me to say, well, let me tell you about what happened in my own marriage. Like, if we had a step removed from that and we had a mastermind where we could talk about things, and then Jonah and I could get on and record an episode summarizing that, that protects Jonah and me. It protects the people in the mastermind, and it makes it easier for us to communicate and find the other people out there that that need this stuff. So anyway, so I'm throwing that out there. I haven't really worked out the logistics, but essentially this is what I'm thinking. If you might be interested, and you're not making any commitments, but if you might be interested in this, go up to the link tree and email me, and then in the subject line put mastermind or something like that. I will keep any contacts I get from anyone confidential, your name, any of that stuff. But essentially, I need to know something about you, and you need to be someone that has a story to share, and is willing to share in a confidential environment and allow other people to share in a confidential environment, and create an atmosphere of conversation that Joan and I can then use to sort of deliver better messages to the audience. And part of what we're doing actually is building out videos and modules for people that are dealing with particular issues, that can get the help that they want for their relationship. Um, so anyway, so if any of that resonates with you, or you think your spouse might be good for that, let us know or let them know. Um, really anybody besides Joan and myself would be helpful, but ideally it'd be nice to have a group of, let's say, six other people. That's large enough to, certainly make it easy to be anonymous about these stories, but also small enough to be kind of useful and limber enough to navigate things. Uh, you couldn't do this with a group of 100 people, and you probably couldn't do this with a group of 20 people. But I'm thinking, six, maybe a little more than that. Just depends. But I would really like to put together a group of people that are willing to talk to these things, hold each other accountable. Someone that, if you think Jonah and I are wrong about something, tell us. We're far from perfect. We don't claim to be perfect. We obviously don't want to lead anyone astray to the extent anyone is relying on what we say, but we're just trying to be sort of open and transparent about things that we know happen, that people experience, and for one reason or another, there just is not a good place for people to have these conversations. So anyway, if you might be interested in the mastermind, please reach out to us. The best way is email. If that's not an option, I guess go message me on one of the other channels, whatever, but I guess email would be the best way to start. So send me an email. I'll keep you guys updated. If no one volunteers, Joan and I will keep doing what we're doing, but I see an opportunity to expand and grow this channel in a good way, but Joan and I need a little help, is basically what I'm saying. So anyway, I hope everyone is well. Take that to heart, and if anyone out there might be interested in helping with that, we'd love to hear from you. So until next time, everyone, have a good one.